Okay, so I thought that the adjuster nut, the lock nut, fell off and the adjuster nut moved out. That is obviously not the case. Watch. My whole clutch is moved off the shaft. This is going to be a big one. My dogs are enjoying Sirius XMU and tolerating my workout here. Totally excited. This right here is Bubba, who we rescued. Kind of had a choice of pushing him out into the wild or taking him, and couldn't do that. That's our old lady. That's Zozo. Poor doggy got diabetes. Anyway, these are my helpers for the day, and as you can tell, they're not doing very much. So if you saw my previous video on the clutch, it was sitting here, you know, it was wobbling. It was sitting probably somewhere around in here on this main shaft, and it had slipped off this key here that goes into the main shaft, and you really don't know what's going on until you take it off. But if you turn here, you can see the major scarring, bluing of the main shaft, which means this thing had probably slipped off before, or this was done somehow when I had it after it was fixed. Someone else had this off and they put this in here. There's a little lip right here that I'm pushing on. This is an aftermarket bearing, and this is not a Harley OEM bearing. And this bearing has the tendency to keep the hub from sliding onto the shaft all the way. This is a tapered shaft that runs through the transmission, and I'll show you that in a minute. But this bearing keeps it from seating all the way. The Harley OEM bearing is thinner. This one pushes out. The Harley OEM bearing is thinner, and it doesn't have this little lip right here that you see. So this is all got to come off. This has got to come off. Starter's got to come off. I'm gonna have to take off the solenoid there, and starter solenoid, and then of course this is where the compensator sits. This was a bear getting off, I have to say. And behind it are two spacers. I've got two spacers on here. These spacers line up the chain. And sorry, I thought my video went away. These spacers line up the chain from the front to the back. This is the crank, and right in here is the stator. Some people call it an alternator, but in Harleys we call it a stator. So depending on what I do here, I may rip that baby out and just check it, because, you know, I'm in here, so I might as well take it apart and see if it maybe is, see what kind of condition it's in. So starter's probably going to have to be removed, or not removed, at least unbolted from the other side. Since I'm here, I'm going to also probably remove my tank, because I got some cleaning up to do under here. The old module, the old ignition module that came with the bike is bolted to the bottom of the tank, and I can't believe they never removed it. I want to get rid of it and maybe free up some room in there so I can mess with wires. So what's that going to entail? Well, the other side here is where I'm going to spend the next day or so until my parts arrive. The exhaust has got to come off, the whole thing. This whole thing's got to come off. Probably going to have to remove the bottom one too. So I got, my exhaust has got to come off. my tank then can probably move out. And since I'm going to move out my tank, I'm probably gonna, these lines have never been changed, they're hard as a rock. I'm probably gonna put some braided oil lines in here and change it out. I mean, I might as well while I'm here. Besides, I'm gonna have to remove the tank anyway, because right here is the cover for the transmission, and the only way I can remove the shaft is to remove the tank, I think. I mean, I might be able to get in there and get it, but I kind of want to make things easy for myself, so I might as well do some things that I've been planning since this catastrophe happened on the highway. Here is that's my cord to battery 10, by the way. This right here is what's got to come off right here. This covers come off, then inside there's a basket case, and you remove the two shafts, and that's pretty much the guts of the transmission. You got a main shaft and a secondary shaft. They both come out together, and I'll show people that when I can, and then I'll at least get a chance to see what's going on in here as far as the clutch is concerned. If there's any clutch mechanisms I need to replace, which enters right here, my clutch enters right here, then I'll be able to change it at that moment. This is a big deal. Harley, if you're lucky, you know, and you find your parts, you will be able to get this job done for about 500 bucks. But it's not fun. If there's any bigger problems here, it's going to require me to do much more, which would be probably, removing the pulley if you go across the other side. The belt here and the pulley that the transmission runs is behind this. This is the inner primary. It's behind this. Conceivably, I can remove this entire shaft, which pulls out on the other side of the transmission, and I can replace everything that I need to replace. However, if there's anything else that's bad, this pulley has to be removed, and it takes a special tool to do it. To get at any sort of bearings on one, you need special tools to get all that stuff out, which is another probably 200 bucks to get it out, because you need special tools to do so. So that's where we are. The big teardown on the bike is going to have to begin, and to make way for the stuff I've got to do. So conceivably, we're looking at probably another week, maybe. There's once I remove the inner primary, there is a race that this bearing right here runs on, and you need a special puller for that, and I think that'll get here next week for me. All that'll need to be replaced. If the race isn't removed, you can't remove the main shaft out the other side that I showed you. Now, you'll notice in here that I've got some nice little metal shavings. Really beautiful, huh? That's brass from a thrust washer that sit right here. The clutch hub has the teeth that the starter shaft uses to start the motor, and because the clutch hub fell off, it grinded the metal. I also have a looks like to me, I'm gonna have to look at the other shoe, the shoe tensioner, the chain tensioner for the primary. That looks like a piece of it. It's a good thing I have another shoe, though. I bought one a long time ago, because these are kind of things that you need to change periodically, and I just wanted one on hand because I figured I'd be changing it one day. Little did I know I'd be changing out my whole clutch hub. So I'll show you all that stuff when it comes in. New shaft is coming, which I got a steel on OEM shaft, shocker to find. And most of the stuff, most of the parts I found at Harley, which is, and it was cheaper than anything I could get online. And the reason for that is because most of it was old stock. It sat on their shelves. One of the boxes looked like it was made in 2011. And so most of the parts I got were so old that they were on the shelf. And by the way, none of them were made in China. None. A couple in Mexico, one in Portugal. But that's it. Everything else was USA. So that's where we are. I will now go get a beer. Ciao.